In the Emerald Isle, something unexplainable is happening. Tonight, prepare to witness the most frightening event in horror podcast history. A journey into the depths of horror history. First Class Horror presents the Class Horror Cast. Evil wears many masks, but pure horror wears only one. Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.
Shar Mayer is a legendary haunter who has been working as a professional monster for about 45 years. You may have seen her in the award-winning documentary Haunters: The Art of the Scare, which is now streaming on Amazon Prime, Shudder, iTunes. You can also check it out at thehaunters.movie.com for more info. Before working on TV and films, Shar started in home haunts, haunted hayrides and scary mazes. After moving from New York to California, she worked at Knott's Scary Farm for over 15 years. After leaving Knott's, she decided to explore the darker side of haunting in extreme haunts like Blackout and the 17th Door. She also continues to look for new terrors during the off-season, performing in immersive horror shows. Many haunters call her the Mother of Monsters because she enjoys sharing her knowledge and experience to help new haunters get started. She also loves chatting about haunt, Halloween and horror with anyone who likes a scare and scream. Join me as I have a long conversation with Shar. Lots of lessons in this one, from getting involved in the haunt industry or filmmaking, producing shows, and lots of different things. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation as much as I did. The first thing I like to do is kind of get everybody's plugs out there. So where can people find you, or anything you'd like to plug or promote?
Well, my name is Shar Mayer. I'm on Facebook under Shar Mayer. I'm on Instagram under Shar Mayer. I'm under Twitter, which I never do, under the real Shar Mayer. It's SharMayer. And you can go through my website, sharmayer.com. And that's the easiest way to get me in different platforms. I'm working right now with this company, Blackmask, which we're doing online shows, which, yay, it's a immersive horror theater company that's been doing about a year or so, but they come from other different theaters and immersive horror shows, and they came together and they have been putting on these shows, and I went to a couple of them. I know some of the founders, and I loved it, and then they asked me to do an online show, and I started working with them, and hopefully continue to work with them even when I get out of lockdown. And then I also work at the 17th Door during haunt season. And then during the year, let's see, haunting.net, I do some stuff with them. Basically, I do like different shows, and then I'll do like film and TV projects as they come up that I can find, that either just invite me to join with them, or I find something really interesting and I'll audition, and sometimes they hire me. And so those are the projects. This is another thing. I just got into this book, which is called Haunters 2. So this is stories it's really thick. Stories with different people in the horror and haunt industry, and I got a piece in that.
Is that, just not to cut you off, is that book written by is it Michael Roddy?
That's right.
Yeah. That's any haunt fan should know who he is.
Do you know him?
Vaguely. Yeah, I used to I obviously with lockdowns and stuff this year, but I traveled to Orlando every year for Halloween Horror Nights, and he had been involved in their creative thing for a while. And
I didn't know that. It was like a friend of a friend,
That's cool.
But Horror Nights. So John Murdy does Horror Nights.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know I don't know, like, from one year to another what's going to happen.
Who actually, funny enough, I think is married to an Irish lady, and they have a house.
He is, and he lives in Ireland too,
which is cool.
He's really nice. He's a nice guy. Loves Ireland. Last time we were talking, he was telling me about how he loves it there and how he wouldn't move back here. And he has children, so what, you know.
I guess it's the change of pace, really, and things don't seem as crazy.
I travel a lot. Every time I go somewhere new, I'm like, oh, I love this place. I want to move here. You know, and if that's the case, I'll be moving all over the world.
Yeah, I know, right? I feel like that about the States, and then everybody I talk to from the States is like, no, just come for a holiday and go home.
Well, I like living here. I'm living right now outside of LA, so my next move I think is going to be into LA because I work a lot in LA, so commuting is not fun in here. But I'm from New York also. You said you had family in New York. We're in New York.
In Yonkers.
Really? We're from Queens and Long Island, in Manhattan.
Really? Yeah, so, well, my aunt moved from here maybe 25 years ago. And then she married an American guy, and now they have kids and stuff. So we go over every year, maybe twice a year.
Great haunt stuff in New York.
There is some good stuff in New York.
Great stuff in New York. That's where I started. Well, I've been haunting for almost 45 years. I started haunting when I was growing up on Long Island, New York, and I started haunting at home haunts. Then I started doing professional haunts, and I was doing some in Queens and New York and back to Long Island. Then I moved to this coast, and then I did haunts on this side. So
that's where everything started for you, was it, in New York?
Yeah.
And like, can you remember the time when you first got interested in it, or when did that all start?
Well, how do you not like Halloween? I mean, Halloween is my favorite holiday because, you know, you get to dress up, you get to scare people, and you get free candy at the end. So it's like, wow, how can you not love that? So I would always be the kid, like 6 months ahead of time. I'm going to make this costume. No, I'm going to do this. And like really getting like involved in what kind of costume I'm going to be. And even from when I was a real little kid, I wanted to do scary stuff. And so the idea of like, you know, princess and cats are not really was never really my Halloween go-to costume. I'm like monsters and creatures and, you know, anything on the scary side of fantasy is right where I am. So as a kid, I would always, you know, really get into doing that. And then my friend's mom decided they didn't call it home haunts then, but it is what we call a home haunt. She made a home haunt. And I was like, can I help? It was like the easiest question I've ever asked in my life. And she's like, yeah. And pretty much what we did was, from behind cardboard, we pull strings and things would happen on the table. And then at the end, after people would be through, I'd jump out in my rubber mask. I'm sure it was either a werewolf or a vampire. And I would chase them out. It was like in a garage, and I would chase them out. That's my first kind of thing like that. And then when I was, then I did my first impromptu one with Girl Scouts, where we did a senior cadet encampment where I don't know, I was that kid. I packed a werewolf mask in with the rest of my clothes, and then at night put on the mask and went over to the tents and did this, you know, scratched. And it ended up not good for me because somebody got like, kids were screaming, and that was great. And then, you know, you get enough people screaming, and then they start chasing, and I did get chased. And I remember running and kids throwing things. But you know, that with all the adrenaline that you get from that unforgettable times. And it was just like a natural thing. Like, I was always in theater, so I was always doing shows. And then, of course, my favorite shows, Halloween shows. Hey, let's do something more Halloween-y. Hey, I got an idea, you know. So it just, like, people always, how'd you get into it? Is like always part of me. It just is a natural progression. Scaring people to me is like eating and breathing. I love to scare people. I don't know what I do. Like this year I was getting really stressed out, not just because of the situation with the pandemic, but like not being able to scare people. But found a way around that. I guess there's a workaround for everything if you look for it.
Which is kind of cool that like places have attempted to change things up and try different things. It sucks that we don't get the thing that we all love, but the fact that, you know, people are trying to innovate and try something different rather than just throw it aside is kind of cool to see.
I agree 100%. You know, that was my first fear, that, you know, we wouldn't have Halloween. There'd be nothing. But here in California, we had a lot of these drive-through events where you would be in your car and drive through, and people would... At first, I was like really nervous because I was fearful for the haunters. Because when you put people in cars and somebody's scaring them, I just couldn't think of anything but the bad side of it and people getting hurt. But they worked around it, and they found ways of doing it where they would make you drive and park or make you drive between areas. So I haven't heard of anybody getting hurt. So I'm pretty happy about that. And like I said, the haunt I work at, which is called the 17th Door, that's in here in Fullerton, California, they redid their air system so that the air changes would be higher level than an emergency room at a hospital. They cleaned 3 times an hour. Everybody was masks and gloves, and anyone that pulled their mask down, which of course people did, got thrown right out. So there was zero tolerance.
Yeah.
All the actors had to come and sit, which was really weird to see everybody sitting at desks like they were in first grade, you know, all separated desks, and all different rules with costuming and food. And but we did good because, thank goodness, no one got sick. So it was another successful year. Looking forward to next year where I can actually get back and be there in person and haunt with my fellow haunters and really give our guests what they came for.
Yeah, because I think and I don't think the haunt industry is as small and cult like as it used to be, but I do feel like that a lot of these industries are going to come back with a huge bang because people have been starved now for so long. And then on top of that, I think you've got just maybe your average person who is feeling the effects of these lockdowns and all the different stuff, and people are just going to want to get out and try things and do different things. And I think there's going to be a huge opportunity for people to come back with a bang.
I hope you're right. I know, like here in Southern California, there's a ton of haunts, and like besides theater and stuff, there's a ton of things to do, like horror and haunt wise. So it's like really, really big here. How it can't be as big as it was, I don't know. It's got to be bigger. And also not only just here, but all throughout the country. I mean, I talk to people all over the country, all over the world, actually, who have haunts and haunted areas. And there's this, if you go to this city, there's this around here, and there's this one, and we have 2 over here. And then, so you get the big ones, and then you have smaller ones everywhere you look. But I don't know. I can't wait to get, as a participant, I love to go to theater, and I love to go to shows, and I can't wait to get, I've been doing online stuff, but, and it's good. I love doing it, but I just can't wait to get in person. Now, how is the haunt scene by you? Where do you live? What city do you live by? So
it's in the southeast tip of Ireland. It's called Wexford. Not an overly large, like I would guess a large town, not a city. Haunt around here, not so big. In Ireland, it is starting to pick up. Our biggest one is probably the Nightmare Realm, which is in the capital in Dublin.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's kind of held in like it's in a place called the RDS, which is like technically an arena. So that's quite cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And then there's other ones that pop up. There's I can't remember the name. I think it's called Farm Phobia. So it's basically a group of Irish farmers who owned land, and they rented it to these people who were like super passionate about this Halloween thing, and now it's just like expanded and expanded. So then competing farmers also done the same thing with different companies. So now you have like 2 or 3 of these huge, like acres and acres of corn mazes and sheds and all of this crazy stuff. So it is starting to pick up. Only probably in the last 4 or 5 years have we started to see these things kind of crop up everywhere.
I think that's awesome. I mean, I think just because of the amount of people you get, most haunts start where there's a big population. Like when I started in New York, and large population. Mm-hmm. But what I always heard about is Knott Scary Farm. And then when I was able to move west, I got a job working with Knott's, and to me that was like, oh, this is like the big one at that time. So what it was a theme park, and then they just changed it into a haunt before Horror Nights, and then Horror Nights took off, and now it seems like every theme park is like, hey, it's October, we can make a few changes and make a bunch of money and put on a show. So it seems like a lot of anyone that has space does that. But it's all starting like at a grassroots level, like people like that start, hey, I want to do that. I don't live near a haunt. They just set up their lawn display or home haunt, or, do whatever you can, and you start things. And then once that goes, next year, you're going to have like lots more people coming that heard about yours. And then before you know it, somebody's going to open up one in the mall by you, and maybe it'll be you. Mm-hmm. And then that's how it just grows. And it's really interesting. Like you said, 4 or 5 years, that's pretty much what I've seen also is the amount of, well, except for here where I live in California, where we've had like a lot of haunts for a long time. But like for the past 4 or 5 years in different cities, like outside cities in the suburbs, just haunts starting to pop up, small haunts, and then just getting bigger and bigger. And people doing this. I've done this for 5 years. And it's like, I've done this for 10 years. And then you start hearing like all these people's stories. And of course, we're all connected through the internet and able to talk to people online about what they're doing and what they're up to. And that's really exciting, because when I was younger, I'd only heard stories about what's going on the West Coast. There were no magazines about haunt houses. I don't think there were. I never got any. I mean, we had monster magazines, but I don't think they ever focused on what was going on in the haunt or Halloween industry. So like now, actually coming out here, and it's like, I never even went to Knott Scary Farm. I just moved here, and it's like I went and I auditioned and got a spot without even knowing anything except the rumors that I heard back at the East Coast, back in New York. So that was pretty exciting. But it's really amazing the amount of growth this industry has had. And like you said about culty, it is mainstream. It's not a weird thing anymore to work at a haunt. I never used to tell people I worked at a haunt. It was just something I did. And like my family all knew. My husband basically just put up with it because it was only, a couple weeks a year. But now, because of immersive theater, and I'm working, well, not during the pandemic, but I work most of the year, so it's become year round for me, because I can work in like immersive theater, horror theater. If not, there's some sort of something else I can work on. There's always horror films, and so it's become from working, the first year, I think we did a haunt for 1 or 2 nights. And then the next year we did Saturday, if it was Friday and Saturday, then we did Friday and Saturday, and then I think we did the next weekend. So I did home haunting for like, in the first 3 years, I think maybe I did 5 nights in the first 3 years. And now it's like, if I don't have a haunt set up or a show set up coming up within the next couple months, I'm like, I got to look for something, I got to find, some shows to do and something to work on. The nice thing about the internet is being able to do things elsewhere. So hopefully within the next couple months, maybe I could find the show I was working on, Blackmask, right? We did some shows that were we had people participating in from other countries in Europe. I'm
Oh,
not
nice.
sure 100% where, but yeah, I think it's great because now more people are aware of it, and who knows, maybe they'll make a trip to come here. I've met people that take trips from other countries and come to do haunts, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, like I even remember when I initially decided to start doing horror nights in Orlando and stuff like that. Over here, it was like kind of the thing of like, oh, you're going to do that weird Halloween thing. I don't, because over here at that point, I don't think we had any haunts. So like nobody could understand. I tried to explain what it was, and it was like, I don't get it though. So they like dress up and you walk, and nobody could understand. And now to see,
Really?
like, because it is, I mean, look at any movie studio, and majority of people high up and executives will say, if you want to make money, make a horror movie. And I definitely feel like that this industry is like massively popular, and obviously financially it's, I mean, like you said, there's places that I probably never would have thought would have gotten involved seem to put a huge push on the Halloween season now.
Well, worldwide, it's the number 2 holiday right after on money spent right after Christmas. And I mean, Christmas, you're including gifts.
Yeah.
So, one of the hottest antiques that you can buy at antique marts are old Halloween decorations, because people just didn't save those kind of things. It's interesting because like the difference between horror, haunt, and Halloween, they all are like surviving with each other, but they're all like cousins with each other. Like where would haunts be without Halloween, and where would horror be without Halloween, and where would horror be? I mean, they're all intertwined. It's just it's like different parts of the same meal, I guess. Like you can't just eat dessert all day long.
Yeah,
you have to eat your veggies every now and then.
When did you realize that like this was something that you could make a career, or that was even a possibility? Like at what point did it hit you that, okay, I can actually, maybe I won't have to have the regular 9 to 5. I can go and do this thing.
Oh, well, I was working at Knott for Haunt. So that would be about a month a year. And then they asked me to do work in the marketing department. So I was doing another 2 to 3 months. So that would be marketing Haunt. And me and my partner would drive he would drive the hearse. We would go and costume up and promote the haunt, and we'd go to like colleges and events and all these different things. So that was like about 3 months, and then a month on top of that. So now I'm already, before I even do any film or TV, I'm 4 months a year doing haunt. Then I was working part-time at Knott in their education department. So it kind of like just fell into that kind of thing. And then I started doing, hey, I know you from this. We're doing a zombie film. Sure. And then I'd start getting invited to do different things. And then I started, well, you should come audition with us for this. And then I started doing auditioning. And then it just went one thing into the other. When I was in the film Haunters, that was after I did Play Dead. So Play Dead was a show at the Geffen Theater that was during off season also. So that was like a couple of months doing that. So it's like, it just seemed, I don't know if it's like, today you are a haunter. Yeah. I think it's just like, I'm always looking for work. Like, I don't mind working more than one job, like normally. I don't mind working like more than one thing at the same time. I actually like doing that. I prefer having lots of different gigs going on at the same time. About a couple of years ago also, I started working with this convention called ScareLA, which was a Halloween convention. We did that for, I think, 5 years. And that took up a big chunk of my year too, working on that, because I was segment producing for that one. So it just seems like it's always there, and then you can always, I don't know, I just like you said, like community-wise. Like, there's always somebody in the community that knows somebody else that knows somebody that I know, and then we start talking, and then, oh, I got this project, oh, or so-and-so's working on this. Do you have some free time? Yeah, I always say, I say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I say yes to everything. And then, you know, some things are like truly amazing and truly awesome, like kind of horror experiences that I have. And not only I have, but, you know, people working on it and going to it have. But to me, I look at it like everything I do is going to be an experience for me, too. So when I'm performing, depending on the character I'm taking on, you know, I totally change like my performance on how my character is. So I try to grow and stretch as a performer too, and expose myself to new and different things. But it's every year. Like this year's I guess a gap year, maybe not that much. Although, like I said, I've done something I never did before, which was immersive online stuff. Never done that. Wouldn't have even thought about doing that if it wasn't for what's going on. Yeah. So I'm doing those shows and keep thinking like, well, this probably is my last immersive show, but then we go another couple weeks. Okay, let's see what else is out there.
So a question I got a lot from lots of different people, and it all kind of basically centered around the same thing, was this question of how do I get into the industry, whether it be scare acting, or a lot of people want to, I noticed just from replies and messages I had gotten, a lot of people want to be scare actors, but a lot of people actually want to work behind the scenes and get involved in producing stuff like that. Maybe not a silly question, but what would your best advice be for someone who wants to get into the industry? Would it be just to get involved in anything and then just go from there, like you said?
That's a great question, and it's a question I get all the time.
Yeah.
So for actors, if you're a performer and that's all you want to do, you don't care about the kind of wall you're popping up behind or anything like that. Your best thing to do is just look who's hiring, what haunts are around there. All haunts always hire. Some haunts are harder than others to get into. Look usually around like a month or two, August. Most haunts August. If you're in a big city, you have choices. Where we live, you can work in a lot of different ones, but you've got to start like around that time and be ready to have an October where you're going to be exhausted because you're going to be doing your full-time job or your school or whatever your regular thing is, and then you're going to add on to it 8 to 10 hours a day of just like you physically are going to be exhausted. Get through the first weekend, and I promise it's better after the first weekend. Your body starts to adapt, even as old as I am. After the first weekend, I'm back. I feel a lot better. It's getting through the first weekend. So if you're a performer, look at somewhere, anywhere, everywhere there's a place to do it. If you don't have it, you can dress up and sit on your front porch and scare the kids. You'll get that same adrenaline feeling, and then you're going to look for something more next year. If you want to do behind the scenes stuff, look, Universal Horror Nights probably isn't going to hire you your first year out. So you want to set yourself up and develop your own home haunt. So you figure out a theme. Is it going to be all vampires, all werewolves? Is it going to be random monsters? Is it going to be just dark and creepy? Whatever your theme is. Now it's time to expand your knowledge and learn things. The internet is a great tool. How do I light my show? What do I want to do? Do I want to use cardboard? Do I want to use wood? Anything you do is going to be better than not doing it. Never say I can't. Always say I can. Try things. You don't understand how the way lighting something from above looks different than lighting from below. You do it one way and you see, and then you change it. Don't get locked into things. You can always find haunt actors. You don't have to pay people if you're opening for one weekend a year. You can always find friends that want to go blah and do pop-outs. Pop-outs are like usually where most haunters start is a character called a pop-out character, which means you're behind something and you pop out. Lots of variations on that, but it's pretty much the same kind of character. It's the quick surprise, and that's the character that, and anybody can learn that. I can teach that to anybody in a few minutes. It's easy to learn. There's lots of stuff. There's lots of things online. I put up a few things, but there's a lot of different things online. You don't really need to learn how to haunt. It's usually if you have the feeling that you want to haunt, it's already inside you. And you know what that feeling is. You've been to a scary movie where you've been like, and you get that feeling and you go, hey, I want to bring that in somebody else. And you'll find ways of doing it. Just know that every year when you do it, you get better every year. You just got to be open to exploring the darkness and where to go with it. But you also have to be ready to let things go in November and get back into your regular life and don't fall down a dark tunnel. That's not good for long-term haunting. I've been doing this probably longer than most people. There's a time where you have to say, I'm not doing haunt right now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a breather and come out and play with the humans in a different way. You can't always be chasing and making them scream all the time. You got to take a breath every now and then. And I find that kind of balance, like mentally, keeps you from getting arrested too, but keeps you okay to continue to explore the darkness. And see how dark, how deep, how scary, where can you take your characters?
Yeah. Is that something that you've ever considered? Maybe not, I was going to use the word a course or like a crash course, but maybe putting something together, a program for people, like where you, I don't know, like I don't want to say a consultant, but maybe show the ropes or different things like that.
Well, I do a couple of different courses. I do a Haunt 101 every year, which is like whatever I'm working on. Well, I've been doing it at 17th Door, which is just like, hey, you've never been a haunter before. Guess what? Look what you've stepped into. A lot of people who are actors want to be haunters. A lot of people who are haunters want to be actors. And there's two different skill sets there. So yeah, I do it. I've done like consulting and also just haunt like acting classes and stuff. And the thing is, I can give you all the building blocks, but your haunter is going to come from within you. You've got to be open to letting that come out. Our best haunters are ones that listen to everything I say and then throw it all away, because every successful haunter has this inside them that they want to scare people. And at this point in time, it's not looked down on anymore. Like it used to be something weird, but it's not anymore. Now it's looked at as, oh, that's what you do. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I know somebody that does that. You know, it's not as odd. Like growing up, it was always something my mother used to say I was going to grow out of. Well, I'm in my 60s and she's gone, but I still haunt. I didn't grow out of it.
Which is cool. I love when I see that happen, where people just continue to do whatever it is they love. And like you said, like probably for a long time there, it wasn't seen as like the in thing, or to a lot of people.
Very underground.
Yeah.
or like I would drop my daughter off at school and then I'd go home and I'd get ready for my haunt stuff. She grew up seeing this, so it wasn't a big deal to her. But, I didn't tell the people at the PTA. This is why I'm not making the PTA meeting in October. It just wasn't something I would talk about. Yes, I'd wear my horror T-shirts, but that seemed to pass, I guess. But it wasn't until I'd say maybe the past. Well, with Haunters coming out, a lot of people knew me from that film. And then I'm always surprised when I go to the local restaurant and somebody says to me, hey, don't I know you? And I'm like, no. And then they'll refer either to Haunters or some other film I did, or if it's local, like maybe one of the haunts I did locally, maybe they recognize me from that. So that's really nice. I really like that. It's nicer than like the kind of things like I used to get, like it was really like looked down on. Like in my family, it was not a thing. My husband was, like I said, my husband was never thrilled with me doing it, but he was always supportive and always there. When my daughter said she wanted to do some haunting stuff, he was like, no, I'm not doing this again. I don't want her involved with this. And I was like, look, I'm going to make sure she's safe because I've been hurt. Mm-hmm. I've been hurt severely doing haunt. So I'll make sure she's behind glass and no one can get to her. And I did for the first year. And then, oh, my goodness, she just took off and did her own thing. And she's an amazing haunter. I never taught her anything. Like, people are like, wow, she's so good. You must have really. Nope, I never taught her anything. She understands how to find that dark character inside us and how to let it out. But not only let it out, do it properly. We don't really want to kill people. We don't really want people hurt. We want to push people to their limit, see where we can take them, frighten them, terrify them. But then at the end, we want them to go away going, I did that, or I survived that, or wow, that made me question this and that. But, I don't ever want to physically hurt anybody or kill. I don't want to kill anybody. That's not what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that was part of the problem, that people would confuse us with serial killers and murderers. And we're not. Most of the people I know are really nice. And most people are really surprised when they meet me that I'm a nice person. They're like, they look at some of the stuff, especially my body of work, and they're like, wow, I can't believe you did this, this, and this, and now I'm talking to you and you're nice. It's like, well, yeah, because I don't want to, I'm not a murderer. I'm not a psychopathic killer. I just want to scare and terrorize you. And as we go through that journey, I want you to have a good time testing your limits, and let's see where we could take you. And at the same time you're enjoying that horror, I'm going to enjoy bringing you there. As soon as we get to the point where we're all on the same level and we all understand what we're doing, we can have fun and we can scream and yell together and go on a journey together.
Yeah, because there's a huge tie there between being terrified and scared and stuff. And then I find every time I see people, whether it's groups of friends, maybe people on a date, as soon as they exit the haunt or whatever attraction, everybody seems to be smiling, laughing, and kind of sharing the experience.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yes, definitely that. It's some of the shows I do are one-ons where you'll have one person going through and doing things. And those are shows that I think people do more to challenge themselves and see where, like, you'll never get a choice in real life whether you're going to shoot somebody, or hopefully you'll never be in that situation where you have to make a Sophie's Choice or something like that. But maybe if I put you in an immersive show where you're going to have to make that choice, you're going to find something out about yourself. Yeah. So shows where you're doing one-offs, where you're doing one show by yourself, you're getting one thing. When you're going through with a group, you get a group mentality, and then you have a completely different experience. Different shows that I've done where you go in, like 17th Door, you go in groups of 5 to 7, usually around that. I like when it's like 7 people. Mm-hmm. So in each room, different things are happening and people are going to react differently. You're going to see your friends react in a way that's going to surprise you and maybe delight you. And then you're going to find yourself in that same, in another situation where you're also going to be put in a situation. And because you're in front of your friends, you're going to react differently than when you're by yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's two different kind of paths to go down that I enjoy both of them. Most people look at it as either extreme haunt or traditional haunt. There are so many different avenues in this in this genre that we can go down. It's a lot more than just going through a haunted maze where a pumpkin jumps out and goes boo and stuff like that. There were so many different things, and that's one of the things I like about immersive theater, an immersive horror theater, is that we could explore things within ourselves and within other people and see. At first, I didn't understand the idea of doing a one-on-one, but then once I started getting involved with it, I saw, wow, you could go to different places than you can go when you're with a group.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I guess my introduction to the haunt attractions and the industry was, I guess, what a lot of people would consider the top, which is Universal Studios. And it's been really fun for me now to go back and the year before last when I was in New York, we went and we done I don't know if you've ever heard of Bayville Scream Park in Long Island, I think it is.
I bet it's in Bayville.
I've done Blood Manor in New York, and it's been fun to go back and do all these other and see different and how creative people can be when they don't have that huge, millions of dollars or whatever it is. How creative people can get with the storyline, the costumes, the idea, the scares. It's so fun to see.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I have to tell you, one of the few haunts I go to every single year is Universal Studios in Hollywood. And that's because they start earlier than we do. So that first Sunday, I'm like, yay, we get a ticket. And I always go with a few people and have a great time. But remember, they got the money behind them, so they can do these elaborate sets, and they can do these licensed characters and stuff. Then you go to these small independent haunts, and it's like, wow, what can they do? The one that I keep talking about because I'm working there. The one that I've been working on. You'll probably hear more about it in the next year or so if they move forward with some of their plans. I think that's good the way I said that. But one of the things that they're really excelled at, which I've never seen anyone do, is the special effects and the different themes that they put. Like we did a suffocation here, which was last year, where you got put up against a wall and a sheet came down and it sucked the air out, and you were literally without a breath for an undeterminate amount of time. But you were there gasping for breath, and then you were free, and then you just realized somebody just suffocated. I just suffocated. I didn't know how long it was going to be. I didn't know when it was going to end. It was truly terrifying. If that's what scares you. If bugs scare you, you're going to end up with roaches crawling all over you, live roaches. And it's some people that bothers, some people one thing bothers. Everybody has different phobias and different fears. And with 17 doors, they certainly try to get a lot of different things in. And also, the things that they do, some rooms seem like rides. Some of the effects that they have, you're like, what? That just happened? And those are things that a lot of people talk about online and stuff. So if you're interested, you can come out to Orange County next year and I'll show you what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. So I know that this question is probably in a way like asking somebody to choose between their kids, but what are some of your favorite places you've worked, or maybe a character you've played or something like that really sticks out?
In live theater, not in film. I did Eusapia Palladino for Play Dead, who's a spiritualist. At the 17th door, my favorite character was the teacher, which I'm crossing my fingers I'll get to reprise that this year when Paula goes back to school. At Knott's, I did for 13 of the 15 years I was there, I did a character called Smiley, and that was an original character that I developed. Of course, I'm after doing it for so long, I'm kind of connected to Smiley. And let's see. In Delusion, I did a character that's also pretty memorable. Oh, I have another one for you. I played a nurse. I did a little bit of her this year at 17 because I had the costume, but I did a nurse that was based on Jolly Jane, who was a serial killer for Haunting.net's production of serialized death. And I'm hoping to come back. I really like her, and I'm not done with her. I'd like to come back. Hopefully, when we get back to doing these again, I have other things. I'm not done with her. She has other things she's going to do. But she was also a fun one. And like you said, how do you choose between your children?
Yeah.
Every character I do, I put myself into it. So it is a little bit of myself. I did a werewolf who was hiding out at a sideshow as a bearded lady. So
wow,
how really? Yeah, it was a short run for this one show, but wow, there's so much to play off of. You know, you could do so many different things. But yeah, I think those are like maybe my top few. At 17 Door, I know every year I play a different character. I usually play authority figures like doctors, psychiatrists. I played not the warden. I played the matron nurse. But my favorite was when I played the teacher. I really liked that character, and like I said, I have more for her too. A character that I really want to go back and explore is because things are still building up in my head, and I have more things to do with it. And so those two, I think, that I still have more to do with. I really look forward to doing those again.
Just listening to you speak there about different characters and like potential plans you have in your mind for them, it just reminded me of how much the community and like the audience love the backstory side of things, and like even if you don't get much of a backstory from certain attractions, a lot of people I think come away and, you know, amongst friends and groups who've done it, they will talk about, well, I think it's this, or I think it's that, or a lot of people like that. The backstory and the idea of the characters and stuff has become such a big part now. It's not just somebody jumps from behind a door and says, right. Boo. It's like, right. It really is like, it feels like living a movie in a way, and people want to know every single thing.
You're 100% right. And I saw that transformation happen. I remember when it was just, this happened over here and this happened over here and this. Now, the best stuff are you're experiencing and you're along with the ride with the characters. And one of the things that I always tell the characters, the actors or the performers, I don't care what kind of character you're playing. If you're just popping from behind a desk and saying, okay, go this way, and you just have that pop scare, I want you to think about who that character is, why they're there, why they want you to go that way. Even if you're not going to express it to your audience, know for yourself who you are and why you're doing these things. Because every now and then somebody will say something to you, and then being in that mindset, you'll know how to answer them. Because it's not you anymore. It's not Joe from Fullerton College that's doing this job on the weekend. No, you're now this character who has a complete life, and this person would answer this way. I'm not going to answer the things that I do as my different characters are not me. I'm not going to behave this way. And people that don't understand that and see me do it for the first time, maybe my family, when they see me doing, it's like, I've gotten this. I can't believe you would do that. I'm not doing that. Yeah. The person I'm playing, the character. I had this when my sister came down to the 17th Door, and I was doing something with a little bit of shocking, and she got a little shocked. And I told her, don't come. I told her, don't do 17th Door, go somewhere else. She's never done a haunt before. But she insisted, and she went through, and then she said at the end, she was really angry. And she was like, I can't believe you would treat me that way, your own sister. I'm like, you're not my sister. This is a character. I'm playing a part. And yeah, she comes back every now and then. Still, I don't understand why she doesn't like it. And she's always complaining to me the way I behave. And I try to tell her it's not me, it's my character. I'm exploring these different characters, these different ways in haunt. And if you decide you want to be the person that comes along on the journey with me, you're going to come along, and I'm not going to treat you differently. Because you're here because you want to be here. You're here because you want to take that step with me. Never want to do anything that people don't want to do. People are aware of what's happening. And also the other thing is making sure that people can have an out. The first show I ever did that had anything like that was Blackout. And Blackout gave you an out. You can quit at any point by saying the safe word. And we would train, like, you have to make them say it 3 times. Like, you sure? Because once you say it, you're leaving, you can't come back. And they'd have to say it, and then they would leave. So having that in the back of your mind, you have a safety that if it's too much for you, you can go. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to really torture people. But let's see how far we can get.
Yeah. So what would you say then is the most... intense haunt maybe that you've worked for, or the scariest that you, in your personal opinion?
Well, Blackmask is going to dark spots, but I've only worked with them online, but as I've gone through with them as a guest, they've gone pretty dark. Blackout is like the first immersive horror. I mean, some of the stuff they did, some of the things 17th Door does is like, I often say to the director, the producer, the creator, you can't do that. And he'll say, watch me. And I, not personally, like some of the things, like I would never have done anything with shocking. That's just not something. But he put me in a room and he said, this is what your character's doing. And I was very, very uncomfortable at first. By the end, I was shocking people. I was fine with it. Because I would give people an out. I would tell them, and that was where I felt comfortable. I told them ahead of time, are you ready to feel the pain? And everybody would be like, yay! I go, here comes the pain. And I would give them the pain. And because they said yay, I would make sure they got it. If they said no, I wouldn't shock them. So I was able to deal with that in my own persona. I'm not going to do things that people don't like. And if somebody's like, by the time they get to me, if they're not understanding that's what's happening, I don't know. Usually people realize what they're getting into within the first few minutes. Yeah.
And do you get scared by haunts?
I do. I love to get scared. I can go into a really traditional haunted house with pop scares, as long as I go in my mind and go, you're going into a haunted house. Okay. Now I can go in and I could get scared by just people going, blah. I could go,
yeah.
I can get that. I love that feeling. But when I'm working and I'm in mindset and I'm working and I know I'm performing, somebody could come out behind me with whatever. And I'd be like, okay, like it doesn't affect me at all. But if I get in the mindset, and this is one thing I always ask performers, don't lose this. Because when you lose that feeling, you lose that empathy you have with the guests and the people you're performing with. Don't lose that. You want to have that. You want to understand what they're going through and what they're feeling. So try not. I know a lot of people just are like, oh, nothing scares me anymore. I think if you put it in your mind that you can get scared, you can. And, it's not too often because I work during haunt. So, off season, if there's something I could do, I'd love to do it. Or if I have a day off, sometimes they do Haunters nights in LA. So there'll be like a Tuesday night, one show will run and everybody will go be haunters. And it's pretty cool because you get to see other people that are haunting too. And I don't like the whole, this doesn't scare me. This doesn't scare me. Let your guard down. Let it happen. You want it to happen. Don't lose that thing that drew you to it. Imagine if like you were into horror movies and then just like one day you're like, this doesn't appeal to me anymore. And then you just turn off the screen. It's like you've lost a whole big part of what made you excited about these things. Probably the reason I still haunt. I've met so many over the years. I met so many people that is like, this is my last year. I have no idea what that means. I don't understand that. I don't understand how anybody would want to say, I can't, unless you're physically disabled. And then, of course, there's workarounds. Like, I can't chase people anymore. So they find sitting spots for me. And I can work doing a character, doing sitting or less walking, or there's workarounds on everything. But just giving it up, I don't understand. And I don't understand I've worked 10 years. That's a nice round number. Or I've worked 20 years. That's a nice round. I don't understand it's a round number. So this is a good one to end on. It's like I said, I just love doing it.
Yeah. Just something you touched on there that I can't understand that people do. And it actually, it bothers me. And it also sometimes can ruin my experience when I go through an attraction, is when you get those people. It can happen sometimes maybe with females, but it seems to be a lot of men do it, where they've maybe had a drink or two. I wouldn't say they're drunk, but they do the kind of make fun of all the scares, touch things, pull things around. That really kills the vibe for me.
Yeah.
And I can't understand why.
You know what? Those are the guys that I'm always like, you should stay home.
Yeah.
You ruin it for your friend. And the best thing is, like, if you have a group, is what I try to do is I get the group to police themselves. So if there's one guy acting like an ass, I'll work something out with the group, and then they'll get on that guy. Like, I'll be like, yeah, he's the reason that this group's going to be out, and I try to keep that in my mind and then try to work with the rest of them. That guy is just crying for attention. Please, somebody scare me, please. He's usually hard to scare, but sometimes you can get him. Usually by the end, somebody's going to get him. And I always tell people, when you're haunting and you're haunting a group, don't just focus on one guy. There's always one person that everybody likes to go after. They're easy. They're usually the easiest ones, which I try to tell people, don't go for the easy ones all the time, just because you can get a scream. If you're going to hit them, when I say hit, I don't mean physically hit. It's just a term for scare. If you're going to hit them, hit their friend, or see if you can figure another way around things. But those guys, they're bad. The worst ones are the ones that are drunk and they're swinging. Yeah. Those are the ones I'm just like, nope, they don't get a show. I tell everybody that's haunting, back off. Don't play with them. They're not. If you come to a haunt and you're drunk off your ass, you don't need to be at a show. So, just ignore them. Try not to work them. They can come off. You can work them. You can scare them. They could be on the floor crying. They'll get up, and then in the next room or wherever, they'll start again. Acting up and trying to hurt people and hurt the performers and tear things down. Those are the kind of people that don't need to be at haunts. Hopefully, most haunts will throw them out and ban them. That's the best thing you could do. The ones that are just a little bit cocky and a little bit annoying, I say work them. Try to get them scared. If they're not too far over, there's a thin line. After a while doing this, you kind of see where they are. Sometimes you poke the bear and you realize that's not the bear I should have poked. And then you disengage. One of the things as a haunter, you got to know when to pull back. Well, not only when they're too far over the edge, you don't want them having a psychotic break, or they're just about to swing and you're pushing them, you got to pull back, let them get their bearings, let them get think they're okay, and then maybe hit them one more. And again, I don't mean hit, I mean scare. Yeah. And then hit them one more time, and just a little one, just like a cherry on the ice cream sundae. But you don't want to put somebody down on the ground and pin them and not let them have a chance to breathe again. You want them to go on that roller coaster with you. You want them to have highs and lows and have a real, true experience. And that's stuff that comes with experience. Like I said, the more you do, the more you haunt, the more you learn about different ways to take people down. And again, I'm sorry, I mean different ways to scare people. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of haunt dialect. Like a haunt, a hit is a scare, is take them down. I don't mean physically take them down. You want to really scare them hard. That's a good takedown. So there's like a few like those kind of terms that we use, and it's interesting hearing people all over the world with similar terms. Not always the same, but similar. And one of the nice things I get to do when I travel is go to different haunts if I can. If we're off season and they have things, sometimes it's just I'll contact a haunt, and sometimes they'll let me come in and look at their place, and that's really exciting. And then other times, because people contact me on the internet, which is great. If I travel a lot, so if I get to where they are, maybe I can meet them and we can talk about haunts. Because as you can tell, I could talk about this nonstop. Really something I'm passionate about. I love talking to people who are into haunts and see their take on it and what's new, because there is so many new things coming out. I love hearing from my friends at this other haunt, and they tell me, oh, our developer came up with this thing where we're using this elevator, and I'm like, I'm all ears. I love it. I just want to hear it. I'm not stealing it. I want to know. I want to know what other people are doing, what new techniques, what ways as a haunter we can all grow. And it's really important to share. Like when I first started, everything was like, oh, secrets. You can't talk about technique. You can't show people how to make sliding gloves or, big secrets. And I hated that. We grow as an industry when we share what we know. We share our knowledge. We share with other haunters. And I always encourage people to contact me. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you're up to. Tell me the things that you're seeing, what's new. Ask me anything you want. I'm totally fine with chatting about it. That's the thing that I really love about haunting, is it really is a community. And it's amazing how many people, I'll talk to somebody that I never met, and then they'll know somebody I know, or, we'll have a mutual somewhere. So
yeah, the community from what I've seen over the last maybe 8 or 10 years is like super inviting, and everybody has been like super nice. Everybody's kind of on the same level, just likes to chat and talk and know everything basically. And not in a, like you said, not in a stealing way, but even like just from a fan's point of view, or just loving the industry itself.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say, about 10. Yeah, I'd say about 8, 10 years. Yeah, that sounds about right. A lot more new people, because, you think about it, how many people went to the first haunt that I went to versus how many people, I mean, I'm already scaring children and grandchildren of people I scared originally, and it's grown within their family. That's the other thing that I really think is cool, is the idea of multi-generational haunts. Where I'm working now, I told you my daughter works. We have like 4 or 5 other families that are parents, grandparents, and grandparents, parents, and now the children are starting to come up. There's a few of us old timers still hanging in there, and it's really cool to see like the next generation of haunters. And every time you get new haunters, it's just more and more people that are interested in it. And like I said, it was not okay to be a haunter when I was a kid. You didn't talk about it. You just, it's Halloween fun. Time to go do a Halloween thing. And it wasn't really talking about it. Now it's like, 6 months before, it's like 6 months till haunt, and everybody's like, yay. I think the internet helped that. Everybody puts negative stuff on the internet, and there's been a lot of negative things attributed to the internet, but there's also been positive things, and I think this is one of them, being able to reach other people that are into the same kind of thing you're into, and being able to talk about, look, when I talk to people in another country who love haunt the same way I do, that's the coolest experience, because, I'm not alone. There are a lot of us. Yeah. And being called a monster is not a bad thing. People used to go, oh, you're a monster. It's like, yes, and I'm proud of it. I am a monster. Now we use haunters as our... I think haunters is probably the most common term used at this point, although what are spookers? I don't know. I've heard a lot of them, but I think haunters.
I've heard a lot of different ones.
What do they call the monsters by you? Do they call them haunters? Or do they call them something else?
Haunters. Yeah.
Haunters.
Yeah.
Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.